You're watching NDTV-HINDU.
Hello and welcome to SL Chennai Speaks Out. Living among us is a community that is mostly under wraps, hidden under many layers, and about whom we know ever so little.
Gayism is not only of having a physical relationship with the same gender. You know, it's more of emotions. I'm feeling I'm proud to be a gay. I can't stop being gay. It's what I am. It's what I'm born as.
நான் வந்து பெயிண்டிங் வரைக்கும் தான் போயிருந்தேன். சரியாக வேலை இல்லாதனால இந்த செக்ஸ் தொழில் இறங்கியிருக்கேன்.
17 வயசு அப்படிங்கையில் வந்து எனக்கு கல்யாணத்துக்கு ஏற்பாடு பண்ண ஆரம்பித்தாங்க. எங்கள் மாமா பையனை வந்து கல்யாணம் பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னு எனக்கு வேணவே வேணான்னு சொல்லிவிட்டு நானும் அவளும் அங்கேருந்து சென்னைக்கு வந்துட்டோம், ஓடி வந்துட்டோம்.
எனக்கு ஜென்ஸுங்கிட்டலாம் பார்த்தாலும் பிடிக்காது. எனக்கு எந்த ஜென்ஸுங்கிட்ட நான் பேச மாட்டேன். பேசினோட எல்லாமே பேசுவேன். ஆனால் எனக்கு அந்த உணர்வெல்லாம் வந்து அவங்கக்கிட்ட வர்றதில்லை.
There is so much misunderstanding about these issues. There are so many people who just can't imagine that such things exist, or if they do, they've heard horror stories and they confuse being homosexual with being a pedophile or any number of dreadful misconceptions.
Those are real people living right here in Chennai city. They were willing to speak to us but did not want their faces shown. Which brings us to the subject of our show today, differently oriented. To unravel some of the layers of this hidden community, with us today, Sunil Menon, he's a well-known gay activist. And then there's Magdalene J. Ratnam, the director of the Center for Counseling. And we have Reverend Winnie Varghese, who is an Episcopal pastor from New York, now on a very brief visit to Chennai. And of course, our invited audience of Chennaites who accepted our invitation to be a part of this discussion. Magdalene, why is there so much discrimination against people who are just different?
I think many people are very confused about when you talk about gay people. They're not sure what they're doing, or they're not sure if maybe it also has to do with how they're growing up, hearing that it's wrong or it's sin, or not knowing. I think these are the reasons why people are afraid.
Sunil, you came out and openly admitted that you're gay. So tell us how you actually dealt with the discrimination that you faced.
I think my coming out had a series of factors that actually culminated and brought me to a stage where I had no choice but to come out with my sexuality. And this was because at home there was a situation where my family was threatened with my sexuality. There was blackmail, and there was this element of blackmail where they said they would speak out about my sexuality, and that would bring shame to the family. So there's a whole association of shame and guilt, which the family is put under pressure. And for me, whether I would be able to stand up to that pressure and come out and say, this is who I am. I took a stand and said, this is who I am, and then if you don't accept me for who I am, then I just need to live my life the way I want to, and I would leave.
Sunil, you just said that your parents were worried about the shame and guilt that would actually probably fall upon the family. So when you did come out and speak about your sexuality, did they encounter that shame and guilt? Did they actually have to face it?
It happens, see, it's not very direct, it's implicit. Like I remember, like there'll be instances in the family when the whole family gets together, there's a marriage, or there's some ritual or some function that happens. And then they'll look at my parents and say, you know, your son is not married and he's come of a certain age. It naturally brings shame and guilt on the parents and then the family around. So there's pressure for all of us to conform to what is the norm around us.
Right. Let me ask the audience here. Now, if you had a neighbor who was different, who was differently oriented, what would be your reaction?
I would definitely accept them because I will not force my view upon them. But I would also counsel them.
I wouldn't actually mind the fact that he being gay is a problem to anybody because that's his personal choice. And if I have to accept him as a friend, it's perfectly all right with me. It's not an issue at all.
I would personally accept them as human beings, human persons. For me, they are human persons, whether they are gay or lesbian.
Sunil, what would be your response to what you've just heard from this audience here?
Well, I think it's very heartening to know that I always felt that Chennai as a city, we're very tolerant and we go on this tag that, oh, we're traditional and we're conservative. I feel so much more at home in Chennai, just for the fact that I feel the people here are much more tolerant.
Right. Winnie, let me ask you now. You live in New York. What's the level of acceptance for you there?
New York City is one of the most diverse cities in the world, and it's a very open and liberal city. I don't draw much attention to myself. It would be very difficult, I think, to stick out in New York City.
Now, you've come back to India for this very brief visit. So have you had any problem? Have you been discriminated at all in the few days that you've been here?
I think it's one of the easiest cities to be in India.
Do you think that there would have been a problem if the place you're staying at or the people you've associated with, and I don't mean within your own circle, I mean outside of that circle, were actually aware that you are sexually different, really differently oriented?
One of the challenges for women is I have been out on this entire trip. I'm staying in a hotel room with my partner. I'm not sure that people can hear that I'm gay. I don't think that means anything to them because I'm not a man. So I think it would be quite hard to do something that would draw that kind of attention to ourselves.
Right. I think I'm actually going to ask Winnie's partner, who's also here today, would you like to tell us how you've dealt with this? Have you faced a problem at all?
Well, in Chennai, we've had such a lovely visit. It's been a really warm and welcoming city, and it's my first trip to India. Back home, there are parts of the country that are, or even parts of New York, obviously, that are not welcoming. But I have children, and so I make a special effort to be in neighborhoods and to be in communities and to be in schools that are particularly welcoming. And I think one of the most important things is to be vocal when I can, so that other people who may have a similar situation as I do and Winnie does can feel comfortable as well.
Right. Let me get a response from the audience on that side. Do you believe that people who are sexually different and oriented, differently oriented, should they actually be coming out and making a statement?
We as a group here are very liberal, and that may not be the case with a lot of people in Chennai or the majority of the population in Chennai. If they come out and people see that they are normal people going about their normal work and they are as good intellectually, as good friend, they can be a friend like anyone else can. Right. I do believe that like sweeping it under the carpet is not the answer for anything, let alone a problem like this.
Right. I think that's a very valid point, because when we were actually asking and inviting people to come, a lot of guests whom we spoke to said, we'll stay home, we'll watch the show, but hey, don't ask us to come out there and speak, because that we don't want to do. Why do you think that was the reaction, Magdalene?
For some reason, many people have this mask that they feel that
Hypocrisy?
they need to put on,
right?
For various reasons. One is they're not sure what their family would think, or I don't know whether my wife will say something if I say, I'm friends with a gay man, or there's a lot of doubts and all of that.
I think if you look at a studio audience and people you've invited, and obviously those who want to listen or be part of this whole discussion would come in. The fear is that somebody might just see me in a studio audience. People would identify me either as gay or as a supporter, and that was bad enough.
Right, but Sunil, what about the people we invited who are so-called straight to come out and give us their views? Why do you think it was so difficult for us to get ask and get responses from those people?
I think again it's a fear that the people around them would react. I think making a very public statement takes a lot of courage.
Right. Let's see. So do you think that is a problem?
In the background of our social, cultural, moral, within brackets, moral ethos of our society, acceptance of a gay or a lesbian who proclaims himself to be a gay or a lesbian, we have to really go miles. And in that background, I think we are still not willing to accept that different orientation in sexual behavior is an accepted norm. So to that extent, I differ with you.
I would like to hear from the young lady up there. Why did you accept our invitation to come here?
People say that coming on the camera and talking about all this, they might even doubt us. Like, are you one among them and all that? So it's nothing like that. We just want to prove that just nothing, having a friendship with them or just going in shows and talking doesn't prove that we are one among them.
Well, we're very, very glad, and thank you very much for coming and giving us your point. So would you like to tell me, when we asked you and invited you to come, what was it that actually made you trudge out here all the way to Perangudi to be part of our show?
I actually live in Ananagar, which is pretty far away. And I've always had this thought that unfortunately a lot of people don't come out and say that I'm gay, and I'm not. So the thing is that...
Are you gay, sir?
No, I'm not. I'm not. It's just that I have never had a problem basically about when people say like, you know, I'm gay. I've never had a personal problem because it is their personal choice. And it doesn't matter to me if they are coming up to telling me that I'm gay. Why should I be different to them? It doesn't matter. So if I get an opportunity at any point of time to put word for at least accepting for all of them, and you know, showing the world that these type of people are there, for speaking for them, I would love to do it at any point of time.
Right. Just wanted to ask, does anybody in this audience actually have a neighbor who is gay by any chance at all? Oh, you do. Let's hear from you then. How do you treat your neighbor?
I was friends with her for 2 years or so, and I didn't know she was different. For a very long time, I didn't know she was different. At the start of second year, I knew she was a little different, and I couldn't figure it out at first.
What's this difference that you noticed?
I found her to be more possessive about certain girls alone. I openly asked her, are you like that and all, but she was confused in herself. She didn't know what to reply.
If you had a neighbor who is gay, I'm going to go back and ask you that question. How would you react?
Honestly, I don't care whether they're straight or otherwise.
Would you let your, if you had children and they had children, would you actually let your kids go over the wall and you know, play with the kids and just...
The difference is there. I mean, as a parent, if I know that my child, is showing a difference in the behavior, I would definitely be worried a little bit, but I would try and understand what exactly is this. So that kind of fear is there in me, yes.
In its research, the ICWO, the Indian Community Welfare Organization, has identified 7,000 differently oriented people in Chennai city alone. However, researchers say that 7.5% of India's population exhibit deviant behavior. 7.5% of our population is a really huge number. So that means that many of us are more than likely to rub shoulders with people who have different sexual preferences. It's time for us to take a very short break now.